Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our monthly Recruiter on Call with Jobs. I am so excited to welcome Cabrile Bradley. She is here in Pennsylvania with me normally, except she's on vacation in Delaware. So she's still close by. So I just asked her if she was getting the effects of the smoke coming down from the wildfires in Canada. And she said it hasn't hit Delaware yet, but it has certainly hit us here in Pennsylvania. And I have a little bit of an asthma situation.
Mhm.
And I tell you, I've been feeling it so far this morning. So hopefully you can all hear us. And if you are with us live, please start putting some comments in the chat. And the chat will hopefully pop up here for us in a second. So I'm going to introduce myself first, and then I will have Cabrile introduce herself. So I'm in Pennsylvania in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and I wear two hats. Lynne Williams. I do Great Careers Network, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And this is one of our 18 to 25 or so events we do per month. This is the Restream event. We also do lots of things on Zoom. We also have a hybrid meeting. And okay, so I see a comment already. Thank you for chiming in. So I know we're live, Kareen. I just met Kareen Tuesday night at a PA Biopharma networking group. So glad you're here. The other hat that I wear is I am a resume, LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn company page writer, but I should better state myself saying that I help you transform your personal brand with bots, but making you look like it's not written by bots. So how about that? So that's what I do. The two hats I wear, the two businesses that I run, and I'm sitting here in my office in Paoli. So, Cabrile, over to you. Introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been in recruiting or in talent acquisition.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here and talk to you today. I'm hoping that you're feeling better soon with the smoke and everything that's happening. Um, I'm not experiencing that because I'm at the beach, and we were at the beach last night, and it was beautiful. So, that being said, I have been doing recruiting about 15 years across different corporate environments. Manufacturing. Med tech and currently utilities. I've worked at some great companies. I worked at Olympus, Air Products, all known in Lehigh Valley. Currently with PPL. I've also worked with Knoll. I've been a recruiter, sort of a jack of all trades, master of none, right? So I've recruited for IT, supply chain, logistics, finance, a little bit of everything. So I love what I do as a recruiter. So it doesn't really feel like work for me because I'm a people person and outgoing by nature. So, I mean, I just love it. So hopefully, we're going to have a great conversation today. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of wisdom that I have and some nuggets and some insight. And yeah, and you
Awesome.
can use it in your personal search or whatever you're doing right
Excellent.
now.
So before I ask another question, we want to say hello to our friends in Stuart, Florida, Kansas City, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Lorena's in the Poconos. I saw somebody from Washington, D.C., although the little chat thing got buried already. So welcome. Glad to have you here today. And if there's somebody that you think could benefit from this and they missed it live, it is available on my LinkedIn profile under events. You can, watch past Recruiter on Call with Jobs. And it's also on the Great Careers PHL YouTube channel under lives. So, Cabrile, you told us that you work for PPL
Hmm.
and it's utilities. So tell us more. Like, it's not just, linemen. right,
Oh,
that you
no,
are
no,
recruiting for. So
no.
tell us more about PPL, how big it is, where it's located, and all that.
Okay, PPL is a utilities corporation headquartered in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They service about 3.6 million customers, so they have a larger utilities, footprint than people realize. And they are in the market in these three markets, which are PA, of course, Kentucky, and Rhode Island.
Wow.
And I support the finance business unit, right? So I recruit and look for talent in those three markets, and as well as the titles that I recruit for are accountant, staff accountants, accountant specialists, FP&A, strategic FP&A, the full gamut of finance, you know, of titles. If you're looking and you're online and you're looking for an opportunity, I encourage you to visit PPL or reach out to me directly.
So do you have um, just on-site jobs in Kentucky? You said Rhode Island and Pennsylvania, or are they
Yeah,
hybrid or are they remote?
they are. No, unfortunately, I don't have any remote opportunities right now. I think if we did, they might be in IT, and I can get you in touch with the recruiter that handles the IT if you're looking. But all of my positions are hybrid, so that's 3 days in office, 2 days off. Normally Tuesday through Friday, but I guess it depends on the team you land on, or if you're in Kentucky, I think those 3 days might vary. So, but it is three
So
days on and 2 days
tell
off.
us the cities in Kentucky and Rhode Island. You already mentioned
Oh,
Allentown,
okay.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So it's Lexington, it's Louisville, and a few more. I don't have them all memorized. And Rhode Island is Providence, so
Oh, so
yeah.
there's several locations in the
Yes,
states.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So yeah, we as you can see, we have people coming from here, there, and everywhere.
Hmm.
And I've known people to say, yeah, I have a couple hour drive, but you know what? If it's hybrid 3 days a week, I can live at my house and then I could find a bed and breakfast or something like that, that's local so that I can do that in person bit someplace else. So I have known people that have done that. Do you have
Yeah.
people that have done that?
Not to that degree where they're telling me they're staying at a bed and breakfast or anything like that. I do have someone recently hired who's come as far as Scranton, and they're
Okay.
okay with the commute because Allentown to Scranton, I think it's about 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
But they're open to it because again, it's not every day, right? So
Mhm.
I think people kind of realize that remote is kind of going away. I feel that it's going
Yeah.
away. Most companies are kind of staying in a hybrid sector, and most people love hybrid versus coming in every day.
Yeah, I think people like to have that human connection.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I've also seen a trend as, remote is not as plentiful as it was
Mhm.
before.
No.
Companies are paying, uh, pretty penny for having an actual brick and mortar place.
Mhm.
They've got
Mhm.
desks, they've got computers, they've got
Mhm.
chairs, and they don't want all
They
that
want you
to
to,
to
yeah.
to go
Those
to
those
go to waste.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of times they have long, like 30-year contracts with, the landlord. So they can't just,
Yeah.
walk away, unfortunately. And they would rather people, use the space because they're paying for it. And I
Mhm.
agree. A lot of people, I remember during COVID, because I'm an extrovert by nature, COVID was really weird for me. Like I couldn't, I like talking to people and engaging people, right? I'm a recruiter. If I didn't, I would be in the wrong profession. But I like being able to have lunch with people. I like to be able to talk to somebody, not necessarily, do, you know, typing on a computer, Teams messaging. It's easier to walk to somebody's desk versus Teams or emailing and waiting for them to get back to you when they have time. So yeah.
Yeah. So aside from more hybrid or in-person roles versus remote, what other trends are happening in the
Mm.
hiring landscape as far as what you can see? What's going on out there?
I guess for me, what I'm experiencing personally and seeing personally is the skills versus degrees.
Mm,
And yeah, and that is happening because accounting talent pool is very shallow. A lot of people might not realize that. A lot of people aren't going into that profession, even though accountants are still high in demand. And the other piece of that is the CPA certification. A lot of people aren't taking that class and investing in an additional expense of that. But and because of that, I'll get resumes with someone has 20 years experience, as an accountant, but only has their associate's degree, right? So does that mean that that
Mhm.
person is less qualified than somebody who has their bachelor's? So I've had to have conversations with leadership around equivalency language, so that will
Yes.
open up the talent pool, and we can possibly consider somebody with that skill set and experience versus not. I think the other thing that I'm seeing and experiencing right away is AI. AI for most organizations, right? You
Mhm.
can't go to any platform without hearing something about AI, and companies
Yeah.
are running with it. They're skyrocketing with it because they want to implement it immediately. Figure out how to best use it. For the organization, for the business, and I think for employees it's a little bit different, especially if you're an accountant, right? And you have month-end closing your
Mhm.
desk, you have a very busy, hectic life. So it's hard to find a time to become proficient in AI and figure out what tasks can AI take off my plate, what can I automate when I have such a heavy workload. So I feel like the employer expectation and the employee reality is a little skewed. So
Gotcha. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I've got a couple different windows open. I hope it works. I don't know. We'll see if it comes up or not.
yeah.
But I wrote a Substack article on skills, and there are lots of different types of skills. And I'll
Hmm.
put that in our little LinkedIn chat also, that some people, not everybody here, but some people are a part of. So we'll see if my comment pops up or not, delayed. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot about skills. Now, not every employer, I think, is on the bandwagon with the skills. Some of them still want degrees.
Hmm.
So, I think Christy Klein just made a post about this recently in the past couple days, and I just commented on it last night, saying,
Hmm.
well, if you've got the degree, why don't you keep adding new skills? And then that's a win-win. Okay. Then you've got the whole package, to bring to an employer, that you're showing that you're a lifelong learner, and, you are teachable, you're coachable, whatever. But you've got also the degree and all the goodness that brings.
Well, the
But
other
it
part of
depends on
that,
what it is.
yeah, the other part of that when it comes to accounting is like, are young people just entering into accounting, right? They might not have enough experience now they have the degree, but
Mhm,
now they're getting hit with, you don't have the experience, and I'm not ready to hire you, right? You don't have I
mhm.
go get more experience. How do you get more experience if nobody's ready to hire you because you don't have enough? So
Mhm.
that's kind of the other half of the coin, right? Like,
Yeah.
I do talk to young people about that too.
I see somebody put in the chat, I'm looking for remote jobs in cybersecurity roles. So our recruiter next month is actually, she does recruit for IT jobs and cybersecurity. She particularly is looking for veterans that have secret security clearances. So I can't see your name because of your settings on LinkedIn. It just comes up as LinkedIn user. Um, so, make sure that you come back on the third Thursday of August, which I think is the 20th, if my memory serves me correctly, without looking at a calendar. Okay, so let's talk about resumes, because,
Mm.
that's one of the
Yeah.
things that I do to make a living. So, what do you, we haven't talked about this in advance. I've not prompted you in any way, shape, or form. So, what advice do you have for job seekers to craft an effective resume that stands out? What stands out for you?
Oh, yeah. I would say, what I still see a lot of is bulleting um task over impact, right? So as a recruiter, I don't want to read your job description. I would much rather read how your work impacted the business. Yeah. So I see a lot of accounting resumes that say, manage month end close. All right, that's great. But I think a stronger impact statement would be reduce close cycle from 10 days to 6 days, right? Because hiring managers are not only interviewing for tasks, they're also interviewing for impact, right? Process improvements, analytical thinking, those kind of things. And I would challenge anybody writing their resume now to, if you're bulleting stuff, to, after you write the bullet, ask yourself, so what? So what? And if
Yeah.
you can't answer the so what, then rewrite the bullet.
Yeah. So, I used to not make people put metrics in every single bullet in the
Mm-hmm.
past, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a tough job market these days. It's a weird world out there, I gotta
It
say.
is.
So I tell people I want to see a metric in every single bullet. Give me a
Mm-hmm.
dollar, a number, a percent. Tell me how you helped a company make money, save time, improve processes. Okay, so let's say, Lynn, I have no freaking idea how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you work in a 256 bed hospital? Did you supervise a team of eight? Did you work on a team of four? Did you work in a company that's in 3 states like Cabrillo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
give me something that you do know so that you're telling the truth. You're adding some kind of a number. I know it's not like an impact
Mm-hmm.
accomplishment, but it's still some sort of a metric. So at least you understand companies are working on based on ROI. So you got to kind of talk the talk and walk the walk.
For
So
sure. For sure.
um also, do you see people like using AI in the job descriptions or in the resumes when they're applying? Like, can you tell who's using AI versus who's not?
It's it's getting harder. In the beginning,
Okay.
you could tell who was using AI because the speak was. I'm trying to think of an example. This resonates, or this. It was certain words that AI uses all the time. So if the person didn't go back in there and clean that up, then you could kind of tell. But now with Claude and some of the other ones that are way better, and then they're teaching you on a lot of platforms how
Mhm.
to humanize the speak in Claude when you use those
Mhm.
things. So it is very hard to
Mhm.
tell now. So as a recruiter, I can't really tell from one resume to the next who's greater, right? Because they're starting to all look the same and look good, and so I have to do a deeper dive during the interview and be more intentional in my questioning.
Yeah. Um so when you get an AI resume, it's to me boring black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when I write resumes, I have a pop of color for the human resume, and then I
Mm-hmm.
deconstruct it so that the bots can read it for applicant tracking systems. So
Mm-hmm.
when people work with me, they get two resumes, but I just like the pop of color. I think as humans, our eyes tend towards going to the pop of color. So I use
Mm-hmm.
a light blue shaded band, and
Mm-hmm.
that way it looks like, oh, maybe a human did write this resume because
Absolutely.
ChatGPT or Claude
Absolutely.
is
Yes,
not going to give me
absolutely.
a colored resume. So,
Absolutely.
it's a psychological thing. And if you go to colorpsychology.org and you
Mm-hmm.
look up light blue, you're going to see it has more positive connotations than negative ones. And so that's why I have one and only one template, and I've used it for over a decade. Why? Because it works. It works for men as well as women, and it's very easy to deconstruct um, for the bot resume, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, let's talk about LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
do you review LinkedIn profiles overall, and what's your take overall on what you're seeing out there? Are people building their personal brands, or is there some need for improvement?
Ah, all right. I would say this. First of all, yes. As a recruiter, I use LinkedIn. I review profiles all the time because it's my sourcing tool, right? So What I do see a lot of is people are still using it as a digital resume. And I think that they need to stop doing that because, your LinkedIn profile is a first conversation. It's not a digital resume anymore, right? So your headline should speak to what you do and how good you're at it, how good you are, what value you bring to what you do. I think your about section should definitely sound like a person, not a newsletter. And
Yeah,
then
or a third
lastly,
person bio.
yes, exactly. And then lastly, me as a recruiter, I like to see like when I look at your company you work for and your title and the year, I like to see a little blurb in there about what you did in that role, in each role. And I want people to understand this as a recruiter, when I'm looking for talent online, I'm using keywords. I am using keywords, right? That is how I find you without knowing your name. That is how I
Mm-hmm.
find you without knowing your name. So if your
Mm-hmm.
profile is built out correctly, it also helps build trust and credibility before you even walk into the room. So your
Mm-hmm.
profile should never create doubt. It should always, you know, create trust and credibility. And branding is huge. Like that is huge now. You can't escape it. We are in a digital world right now, so you have to brand yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's very important because that is your calling card. That is, someone's first
Yeah.
impression of you without ever seeing you or meeting you in person. So I would say everybody look at Lynn's profile. She has the perfect profile. She's well branded. Her banner is, branded. She has a call to action up there. Her headline doesn't just say career coach. It says ATS resumes. It says LinkedIn optimization. It says you know all of the great things that she does. So take a look at Lynn's.
And my about section was completely written by me.
Is right, and it sounds like a person. It does sound like a
Yeah.
person. It doesn't sound like a
Yeah.
newsletter. So
Yeah.
yes.
Now, I still believe if you have a well-written base resume, and you've got metrics in each of those bullet points, they can be copied and pasted into LinkedIn. Because
Hmm.
if you've got something that's well written and you got the metrics, why not?
Yeah.
It's the rest of the LinkedIn profile that you can embellish and expand beyond that.
And
But
can
do
we
you
talk
do you
about that?
use
Go
yeah?
ahead.
And I also tap into, do you use LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, or do you use Boolean searches? So go.
All right. All of the above. What not like because most employers will pay for my recruiter seat, right? So PPL
Hmm.
pays for my recruiter seat. So I have LinkedIn Recruiter, um, and I feel like it is definitely the best way to, if you're not using your LinkedIn profile, you doing yourself a disservice, right? It's for
Hmm.
networking, it's for engagement, so it's all of those things. So it's definitely building out your profile completely, the way we've been discussing. Headline must be read well, about career section must read well, but also posting consistently, right? Like if you
Yes.
post things consistently, um and then that tells people your thought process, who you are as a person. Lynn does a good job. She even put some funny stuff in it that tells a little bit about her personality. Engaging on other people's LinkedIn websites, that's important too, because and when they talk back to you, that builds credibility. So I would
Mhm.
say, a lot of people do not use their LinkedIn profile to its full potential. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, you'll start building relationships, right? Because the purpose to me for LinkedIn is to build a relationship before you need it, right? Before you
Yeah.
need, you know, don't wait until now I'm looking for a job. Now I'm just anybody. You got to start
Yeah.
kind of doing it beforehand. And I get it. If you've been laid off, you're in reactionary mode, but even when you find your next opportunity, continue to keep using LinkedIn. Like, don't stop after you find a job. Keep doing
Amen. Yes. And keep
it.
networking even after
Mm-hmm.
you find a job. You've got
Exactly.
to network between transitions,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
keep building the people that you become acquainted with and know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I want to say hi to a good friend of mine, Johnny Shaw. He's in Newtown Square, and somehow or another, we pretty much see each other almost every week at some kind of local in-person networking event.
Mhm.
And so hi to Johnny. He
Hi,
is a
Johnny.
UX UI designer. So um, let's see. And then I see a note from Nora that says, how about the other job boards, Indeed, Monster, etc. I don't know if you know this, Nora, but believe it or not, Google is the better place than LinkedIn to look for jobs, according to Hunter platform. They did some research, so look that up, and you'll probably see some posts. You can, do a search for posts about Google being a really good platform for job seekers. Now,
Mm.
last night for job seekers of Montclair, New Jersey, I did a presentation on the hidden job market. And so, a little snippet from that is that, you know, employers have to pay to put advertisements on Indeed and Monster and LinkedIn and whatnot, but there are also free platforms that they can post on for jobs. So believe it or not, you can go looking for jobs on Threads, on X.com, on Facebook. You'd be surprised. It's not like they're hiding the jobs, but it's just that, they're watching their pennies and trying to get the word out, in other ways. So a lot of times you get referrals from people if somebody says, "Oh, I know somebody that does accounting, right? That's looking for a job in my area," and they see it on Facebook. So you never know. Um, Anything else you want to add about personal branding or LinkedIn?
Uh, no, I think we've covered it all. The only other thing is that popped in my mind when you were talking about Hunter is that when you're looking for jobs on LinkedIn too, when you go into the search mode, you can type in the title of what you're looking for and click on people, not posts, click on people, and it'll show
Hmm.
you all the people that are advertising jobs too. And then you'll
Yeah.
know who to reach out to, right? You'll be able to reach
Yep.
out directly to that person and say, hey, I'm very interested, blah, blah, blah. Of course, go and apply because they'll say, and you can tell them I've already applied. Here's my, reason why
Hmm.
I'm interested, da, da, da. That is another way instead of just posting on the job page
And there's that actively hiring drop
button.
down that you can do
Hmm.
that. And then, there's the other trick is, you're looking for something within the past 24 hours.
Yep.
And then in the URL, you'll see 86,400. You change that 86,400 to 600 seconds or 1,200 seconds or 5,000 seconds or whatever it may be. And then you'll be one of the first people to apply within less than 24 hours. So that's a little trick that's going around. I have that article that I actually wrote about job search techniques. I'm gonna look for that right now, and I will get that in the chat for you. It's called Smarter Job Search Strategies, Tactics, and Tools, and it's under F. I have an alphabetical listicle in that article that is Fresh Jobs Hack. So I will put that in the chats. I'll just put in 86,400, and there we go. And then I'll put it in our other chat. So let's talk about resumes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I mean about interview preparation. Since you work for a company and you're not like an external recruiting firm, do
Mm-hmm.
you prepare a candidate in any way, shape, or form that's going to meet with the hiring manager at PPL?
I will give guidance to a candidate that I feel is strong, because there are a lot of people who are very intelligent, but just terrible test takers, right? The same thing applies with
Mm-hmm.
interviewing. Someone may know a lot about something, but just not feel confident. And we have to be mindful that, and I'm mindful as a recruiter, is that in an interview process, you don't talk about yourself in that way on a daily basis, right? So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard to that's something you have to practice. So I would say when it comes to the interview and prep, is the best thing to do would be to practice talking and saying things in front of the mirror. I would also
Yes.
say that most interviews are, or the companies I've worked for, they use behavioral interview questions, sort of like, tell me about
Yes.
the time. So the best responses for those behavioral questions are star based. So that's situation, task, action, and result. And again, these have to be practiced. It's not the way you normally talk about yourself. But if you apply your answer in that manner, situation, task, action, and result, your answer comes out very concise and measurable, right? So, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
practicing it. You're applying those scenarios to those, that star based format, and it just comes out cleaner and nicer. So I think that's the one of the good ways to prepare for an interview. The other thing is, there are certain questions that get asked over and over again, and the one that sticks out in my mind is the motivational question, like, why are you looking, why now, and why this company. So the why are you looking, we always get, I don't know, I can't even put a number to it, but I always get the oh well, there, I'm looking for new challenges, or there's no growth at the company that I'm at right now. Those are very canned answers. We all know that they're not true, but they're safe. That's because you need to take the time to really evaluate yourself, figure out, okay, what have I done so far? Where do I want to go, and how do I want to get there? You got to kind of take that time. And I get it. Sometimes you lay it off and you just go into reaction mode, but you got to slow down and figure out what that is, why am I looking? What am I hoping to, obtain going forward in my next opportunity? That's,
Yeah.
that's key. I think you definitely need to take your time and do that. I'm rambling.
Yeah.
Am I answering the question correctly?
No,
So,
I love, no, you made some really, really great points. Like,
mhm.
interview in the mirror. If you don't have
Yes.
anybody to support you in a,
Mhm.
you don't have a job search buddy,
Yes.
accountability partner from a job search group, if you don't have family or friends that are close by, maybe you new to town and you don't know a soul, you do have to practice. So I
Mhm.
did put in the comment section of the event a couple links. One was on the Great Careers page, and about halfway down, you'll see Les Zagarnik. He was one of our super volunteers. And before he passed last year, he had some YouTube videos with interview tips. He used to be a recruiter, in New York for over 30 years.
Mhm.
And, he's old fashioned guy with his interviewing and whatnot, but they're really, really, really good tips. Then in contrast, I bring you into the modern 2026 with AI and uh, something I haven't even told you, Cabriel, but a couple years ago, I was hired to do a few trainings for Pico. So
Mhm.
for their the people that are doing apprenticeships and whatnot. Um, so I went in and did a LinkedIn spiel, and I did two interview prep spiels.
Mhm.
One was talking to people about star stories, and then the next time I came back, we had to practice. They had to
Mm.
do live practice because Pico is really, all about doing the star stories. So this article that I wrote came from the deck I had prepared. So I put that in the chat, and you can take a look at that. I did some, scenarios. It might even be linemen or something like that as some of my
Okay.
examples in the article. But when I published the article on um, two different platforms, I broke it into two because it was so long. But on
Mhm.
this one, I combined it all into one. So it's
Okay.
pretty juicy.
All right, but
All
let
right.
me add one more thing. I'm sorry about AI because
Sure.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. So again, if you don't have a partner, AI is voice. You can hit the voice and it'll talk to you, right? So you'll be able to ask it to ask you the questions so that you can practice. So you can
Mm.
make AI your partner. I mean, I'm just gonna put that out there.
All right. So people are saying they don't see the links. It's in the underneath the actual event. I put it in the
Mhm.
comments. And so I don't know. I may have to revisit this chat and figure out how to get it elsewhere. But I will put those links in because I'm gathering them as we speak. So I will get them to you, or you can ask me if you and I are first level connections. I
Mhm.
can add you to the Recruiter on Call LinkedIn chat. It can only have 50 people in there. So you can, send me a message and with your, LinkedIn, and we got to be first level connections, and then I can add you to the chat and you'll see all the links. I'm putting them in two places.
Okay. I see a
Okay,
crazy question right here. I'm sorry,
go
but
ahead.
can I ask it? So I see Karen Angeny. It says some candidates have asked us to send the interview questions in advance. Is this the latest trend? We have refused to send questions, but instead the general topic areas we will discuss. Does that seem reasonable? That's reasonable, and that is a crazy ask to ask for interview questions in advance. I mean, Lynn, what do you think?
Well, I'm the mother of an AUDHD adult child,
Mm-hmm.
and usually we have a friend that joins us from Canada who is in HR, and he is autistic. And so, this has been discussed in the past. What do you do when you have somebody who has got the right skills and they are neurodivergent? And, maybe they can't look at people in the eye when they are interviewing, but they're very qualified and, maybe they have skills beyond, what you normally typically would imagine. So my daughter has a photographic memory, and when she worked at Comcast, they were talking about how to build a like a diagram of the workflows of everything that happens, and they were in a room that had three whiteboards
Mm-hmm.
on three walls, and then the other one was the door, right? And my daughter just drew everything and explained it through the drawings from her photographic memory. And there
Mm.
was a lady who was, a wizard at flowcharts and whatnot, who had to take this information and computerize it for, other people to understand. So it's like she had all this in her head, and, she could figure out problems a company had, but they didn't even know that they had them.
Mhm,
So, you have some very, very smart and talented neurodivergent people who may not interview well.
mhm.
So, what do you do? Is that an accommodation that you might give to somebody?
That's a good question. I haven't run into anything like that just yet, so I can't really answer from experience or not. Hmm,
So,
I
I
don't know.
saw somebody. You That's all right. If you don't know, you
Yeah,
haven't run across it. Okay, I'm planting a seed.
okay.
Something to think about. Now, I also somebody earlier put in the chat that they need to work from home because they have a disability. Well, when I go to Disney, I'm a scooter girl. I have a bad back and a bad knee, but I can still walk. I just can't walk, long ways. So that's why I'm very happy, working in my office. And I'm not going to be out in the road doing sales, anymore like I used to. I used to cover the 14 Western states and run in and out of airports. So you have to do what works for you, and you have to find a role that's going to meet your needs. And there
Mm-hmm.
are recruiters that actually hire and post jobs for people that do have disabilities, whether it's physical or invisible. So
Mm-hmm.
just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. Oh, so Latanya says it looks like value stream mapping. Could be. I don't know. I'm not, I'm techie, but I'm not that IT project management kind of trained person. So what could I tell you? All right, let's go talk about skills and qualifications.
Mm.
Um, so what are the most sought after skills and qualifications in candidates right now?
For accounting, that would still be the CPA certification. Those credentials, hiring managers still ask for a lot. And also, I would say any experience with SAP, Oracle, ERP, and if you've been part of any kind of integration or implementation, those are high on the list for the accounting and finance roles that I look for talent in.
Okay. Um, do you look for people that have like AI certifications and whatnot too, or not
Well,
really necessary?
not yet, but that is creeping into the interviews. Hiring managers are now starting to ask, the person if they use AI, and if so, how.
Hmm.
Most companies are using Copilot and encouraging the employees to use it in their daily work and giving actually training on it to help you figure out how to, best prompt and how to use it and things of that nature.
All right. I'm gonna chat a little bit about AI after I ask you the next question,
Sure.
after I address somebody's comment on the chat here. So we have somebody who is from India. How likely am I to get recruited for opportunities with a visa sponsorship and whatnot? Right now in the United States, we have so many people that do not have jobs.
Hmm.
It is not pretty. It's not only not have jobs, but long-term unemployed. I know people that are a year, 2 years out looking for a job. So I'm going to tell you that it's probably going to be very challenging unless you have some extraordinarily highly sought skills to be able to get visa sponsorship. Now, if you're in tech or something like that, and you're a wizard in AI engineering, might be a different story. But for an accounting role or something like that, I'm thinking that's probably not a reality because of everything that's going on. I have somebody that I know locally who's been out in accounting, a staff accountant for over 2 years.
Mm.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about soft skills. Um, how important are soft skills in the hiring process, and which ones are particularly valued?
Hmm.
I'm going to say by you, uh,
Okay.
wh- because everybody's different, right?
Yeah, yeah. For me, the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is communication. I've been in plenty of
Yep.
interview debriefs where, we're interviewing financial professionals, and the question is not whether they can do the job or not, but it's more like, can they present in front of upper management, right? Because in finance, you're giving presentations to, leaders who may not be, they're non-financial, right? So you need to be able to communicate to them in a way that they understand. So that's very important. The other part is adaptability. Okay, in finance roles, there are a lot
Mm,
of moving parts. You need to be able to pivot very quickly and still get the work done. And I think lastly would be analytical thinking.
mhm.
Again, focus is always on improvement, streamlining how we can do things much better. So those are the three important soft skills that I look for and that the hiring teams are looking for when we're interviewing, looking for talent.
You know what's crazy? The communication thing. You would
Hmm.
think it's obvious, like
Hmm.
everybody should know that they need to have good communication skills.
Hmm.
However, it's in so many job descriptions. Like
Hmm.
people call it out because it's that important.
Yes.
So not everybody is a wizard in, written communication, but at least you have to be able to verbally
Mhm.
communicate with your supervisor, with your teammates, and whatnot. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so somebody's saying, "Hey, I got a bachelor's degree, I got a master's degree, but I have no experience. What do I do?" So I'm going to give a tip on that, and then Cabril, maybe you have a tip on that. So
Mhm.
my suggestion would be, um, uh, you know, try volunteering for a nonprofit. Like I'm a 501c3 nonprofit, and I have a current intern right now from Delaware Valley University. I even take on interns every May from my local high school, just so these kids can have hands on real life experience and they can say they touch this, that, and the other software and social media platforms. They produce this, that, and the other thing number of videos or articles or events or something like that. So if you can't find a job, find a nonprofit whose mission aligns with your values and what you're passionate about. Like I used to do Girl Scouts, right? And then I used to do cheerleading oversight for my daughter's teams. Well, they're now older. And I kind of fell in love with the career services industry when I was a job seeker. So took my former K-12 teaching experience and I now teach big people. Different career tips, resumes, LinkedIn, networking, personal branding, and all that. So, me being in the job seeker or career space, to me, it's not a job. It's something I love doing. It's my passion area. So read the book called The Go Giver. Okay. It's a really, really good book. It's a red cover and it's a short read. You can get it from your library. And maybe something in there might inspire you. And see if you can volunteer and get a little bit of experience under your belt, because on LinkedIn you want to have a two present job. You don't want to have a job start and a job end and that's it. Okay, it's always better to have a job than not have a job. So if you don't have a job or have never had a job and all you've got is education, then I would try the volunteer route as one possible way of getting some experience under your belt. Okay, what have you got, Cabril?
I would say, everything you said was correct. Those are great ways to get experience under your belt. But a lot of hiring managers that I hire for, believe it or not, are just looking for good personality and someone who can tell their story, right? So when you're in school, I think that you should be part of different organizations and projects and be present. Really be able to speak to those projects that you have done, or you've been a part of, or you led some kind of team project. Be able to story tell that. Be able to tell the story about that. I think a lot of times when young people aren't getting internships is because they haven't learned how to tell their story. They might not come across as confident as someone else. So again, it's practice. It's practice. You have to get out there and practice telling your story. And again, back to AI, you can use that to help you, craft your story. You put in the right information, no lies. You have to be able to speak to everything that
Yes.
you're talking to. It can't be made up. It has to be authentic. And I think you'll find your space. You'll find a spot. I think most hiring managers are open to hiring somebody with zero experience, but that person has to present themselves well, have to be able to communicate, has to be able to tell their story. I had a young person recently interview, and he was unable to tell his story. It was crazy. We asked
Mm,
him a couple of questions, like, tell us about a time that you may have had a difficult conversation. And it didn't have to be work related. It could have been with your teacher, another student, and he really couldn't. He's like, he froze. He couldn't, tell of any time. So then we ended the interview and we gave him a few minutes to come back to it. We asked him a few other questions, gave him a chance to come back. He still couldn't come up with anything. And then after the interview ended, he emailed me and he had a perfect story. And I was like, why couldn't you express that with the hiring manager present? This is a good story. So again, it's
Mm,
this impressions impact when you're having a conversation with someone. They have to feel that you're confident in yourself, and then that confidence will thus give you the ability to interact with other people and do your job well.
yeah. Um, yeah. There's yeah, it's a crazy job world out there. You got to do what you got
Mhm.
to do. And
Yeah.
I see some other comments, but I know let's see. Merrill Cass uh says he Restream's not letting him post the comments on the screen. So I asked Johnny Shaw if he could post the link to this live if anybody wants to come up on stage and ask questions. So Johnny, are you able to copy and paste that? I don't know if you're still on the call or not. If not, I'll see if I can find somebody else that I'm first level connections with that I can ask. So I'm going to do a quick commercial break here
Mhm.
before I ask you the types of jobs that you're trying to
Okay.
fill. But I first want to address David's question. Okay, I see Johnny's joined. Can you put that link in the chat, Johnny, for others before I bring you up? Um, so I lost David's comment now, but something about if you've been out for a year, should you take a lower job? I mean, you
Mm.
got to do what you got to do. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's better to take a contract role, a part time role, because, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, got to eat, you got
Right.
to get food in your tummy, right? That's the first thing. But there's always food banks if need the food, and then you've got a shelter over your head. You've got gas to put in your car. So that's what you should be saving your money for. If you are stretched financially, you have to do what you have to do. There are some people who you know I've seen them. No, I'm not going to take that job. It's ten or $20,000 less than I would accept it. Okay, well, that's fine. Um, you know, i- to me, when I was unemployed, when I was going through a divorce, and I couldn't really have a job, I was cleaning houses for $10 an hour because
Mm.
my kids, my 1.5 and 3 year old, needed to eat,
Mm.
and the money wasn't sorted out with the courts. So I'm not too humble to do anything. I will do whatever I have to do to earn a living. If I had to go work for Burger King or McDonald's or something, I would have done what I needed to do. So as a single parent, I've always worked really super hard and had multiple streams of income. Um, so you have to do what you have to do. You can't always wait for the right or perfect job. If you take a job and let's say 3 months down the road, you do get an offer for a better job, well, then you're going to have to face are you going to say, you're peacing out and take the other job, or what? You have to sleep on your pillow at night and look at yourself in the mirror in the morning. So you have to do what you have to do. So if it's a lower level job, is it better to have some money than no money? That's my question to you. Um, all right, so I'm going to bring Johnny up after, but I'm going to do a little commercial break. So hold on. So Johnny, were you able to copy and paste that comment in the chat like you did in the other parts of the chat so other people can come up?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you commented before, so if you just copy and paste
I
that.
was I was I was in the LinkedIn before, and no, yes, I was in the LinkedIn version of this chat before
Correct.
and commented
Yeah.
in there. I don't see any ability to. Oh, okay. Well, I see the chat. Okay, I'm just seeing the
Hang on.
chat. Oh, here
I'll
I
send
have
it.
it.
I know
Sorry.
that David is on. I'll send it to David, and maybe since I know he just put a comment in the chat, maybe David, you can copy and paste that in case anybody else wants to come up on stage. So here's my commercial that I'm going to do for a second. This particular event is being co-promoted actually. One is the greatcareers.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We run 18 to 25 events a month for the whopping price of a cup of coffee, a fancy cup of coffee. So $8.08 a month if you pay annually for 18 to 25 events. So that comes out to about, let's say, 40 cents an event, okay? And it supports a nonprofit that supports you in your career education. And most everything we do is online. So the other part of the equation of the co-promotion is by the Thought Leadership Branding.club. And if you go to the events page, you will see at 4 o'clock today, there is an event. It is on Zoom and it is free. I've been a member of the Thought Leadership Branding Club for over 5.5 years. I love the community. I love the people. I learned so much. So remember I said I was going to make a comment about AI? Well, this is why I love the Thought Leadership Branding Club. For our paid members, we have every 4th Wednesday of the month, we have a tech clinic. And it's usually mind-blowing. It's like I get so much out of it. And then every Monday, we have a 3 o'clock coaching call, Eastern time, followed by a 4 o'clock, 1 hour Claude co-work session. And what's cool about that is everybody's at different levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced. And I'm probably more on the beginner side, not complete neophyte, but I did do my chief of staff. I did do my 100 questions, and now I need to know the next step. I'm going to import my whole exported ChatGPT files into Claude, and then I'm going to take it from there. But I need help with the people there that are in the know to say, Lynn, push this button, this button, this button. And I'm able to pull up my screen on Zoom. So that's why I love the Thought Leadership Branding Club. It's very much supportive of small business, entrepreneurial, but absolutely we have people who are employed or unemployed that are in, that are part of the club. So yeah, it's a good place to be. All right. So Cabrillo, real quick, before, and then we'll take Johnny's questions. So what current jobs are you trying to fill, and where are they located? And you already told me you don't have any remote jobs right at the moment.
No, I do not have any remote jobs. All of our positions are hybrid. The positions that I'm trying to fill currently are 2 accountant roles, and I have a senior accountant or accounting specialist role currently available, and I have 2 FP&A modeling positions currently open. One of them is strategic. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to me via LinkedIn.
And these are where?
Oh, they can be, honestly, well, 2 of them are at Allentown, and
Okay.
the other 3 can be at any location, whether it be Kentucky, Rhode Island, or PA.
All right. So there's somebody I've been networking with a couple times this week, and I'm going to let him know. So will you be able to put the links in the chat for us as far as what those jobs are?
No.
You don't have to do it now.
Yeah, okay. I can do it later. Yes, I can add them later. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to add David, but I got more questions here. So what tips do you have for job seekers to reach out to you for an initial introduction? Are you open to connecting?
Absolutely. Yeah. Please reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. I try to respond within 24 hours. It doesn't always happen, but I do get back to everyone.
Okay. Some David, you got an echo, or Johnny? Oh, maybe it's David. David, you got an echo. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so what tips do you have for people to follow up after an interview? How soon should they follow up? How much should they follow up? Or do you follow up with them?
I would say I'm old school. I do like the follow-up thank you letter, and that should be done within 24 to 48 hours. And the reason why is because, we're talking to so many people, right? Like, you're not the only person that we talk to. So to keep you fresh in everyone's mind, 24 to 48 hours, the thank you letter, but not just the blanketed thank you letter. If you took good notes through the interview, make sure you bring a bullet or two from that conversation explaining why you can, you're a good fit, or, how you're going to solve that, whatever. Those are better than just the templated, hey, I'm very interested, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And then was the other part you said, how long and
Yeah.
what?
How long should people wait for further follow-up? Let's say you're interviewing a whole bunch of people. They don't want to be a PIA, right? But
Yeah.
should they follow up out of 3 days or a week or 2 weeks?
I usually end all the interviews telling people to give us 2 weeks. Give us 2 weeks to circle back to you. That gives us enough time to, evaluate, shortlist, and just figure out, who's next. And then as a recruiter, I always promise not to ghost you, right? So you'll know the outcome.
Oh, that was my next question.
I always promise not to ghost you, because you'll know the answer either way. I think that people respect that more than not saying anything. Even if they don't get it, even if they don't get it, at least call back, have the conversation. Hey, you didn't get it, you weren't selected, and it just better branding, right? So any organization that I support, I try to do that, communicate throughout the whole process, and even wrap it up so that the person knows that that door is closed. But that doesn't mean another window of opportunity won't open up in the future. It just wasn't a fit for that one, right? And it just helps brand any organization I support as an employer of choice. Candidate, their experience is very important. So, I live by that.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So I see Latanya says that she heard me at a SCORE webinar. Yeah, I speak for SCORE Silicon Valley. I just did Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Orlando. I've done Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and my local SCORE. So I do have 2 SCORE presentations coming at the end of the month. So if you go on my LinkedIn profile underneath my headline, excuse me, you'll see more gobsmacking resources. And my list of my upcoming presentations is one of the buttons on my link tree. So, Johnny, welcome. You have a question for Gabriel.
Actually, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was attending the presentation. I've learned a lot through the presentation, but I didn't really have a specific. And then going between LinkedIn and Restream, I found the nice little user experience thing to gripe about, where I don't know how to chat. There's no chat. I would have had to interrupt. And I also had a third party contacting me with deliveries outside. And I'm like, which way to...
There you go.
So
Johnny and I pretty much see each other every week, in-person networking events. And, he does UX UI. And so if you have a contact for your IT department or marketing department, Gabriel, I'll pass that on to him.
Okay. Absolutely.
And David, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lynn.
Are you able to unmute again, David, and ask your question?
Yes, I'm back.
All right.
Hi, and sorry, I'm at my son's soccer camp right now, so there was a little bit of noise in the background. That's what it was. It got changed from this morning because of the air quality and the heat.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So it's kind of a follow-up, Lynn and Gabriel, like you mentioned earlier about doing what you have to do to like take a job. But I guess the slant is I'm asking from is not necessarily from a, hey, I got to put food on the table, but if I take a significantly lower level job and lower paying job, does that hurt myself 6 months down the line, year down the line, when I want to try and get back to the level I was at. So if I'm aiming for a director level role, then I take a lower level individual contributor role. Is that going to hurt me going forward? Now, whether that's a contract job or a full-time job, I've even run in situations where they tell me, even if I'm willing to do it, they know I'm a flight risk. So even if you're willing to do it, we're not going to take you, because if you're used to making this and now we're going to offer you, $50,000 less, you're not going to be happy eventually. Where like my wife and I are like, why don't you take something just to like, help pay tuition and, pay mortgage and things like that. So it's one thing about the, putting food on the table, but another, am I hurting myself going forward the rest of my career? Am I better off? Can I explain it as a bridge job, or am I hurting myself going forward to be able to get back to the level I had been at for the past 10 years?
That's a hard question to answer. Like Lynn said earlier, you have to do what's best for your family. But honestly, when hiring managers and recruiters are looking at someone who was director level applying to individual contributor role, that is the question they ask themselves. Why? Like, why is this person trying to take a step down? And you're right. Even if you can explain it, so this is the thing. You have to be like, if you decide to go that route and take the lower paying position, I would say be prepared to stick it out. You know what I'm saying? Because moving around, job hopping, even though we understand why, it's this never looks good. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, it's the world that we live in, and people just look at things the way they look at them. So that's what I would ask myself. Like, okay, I was a director before, but now I can't wait any longer to find that position. If whatever I'm taking, I have to be prepared to stick it out and be there for a little while and hopefully grow within that opportunity, because you're coming with a lot of skills, right? You have a lot of knowledge. You could technically grow within that organization. There could be opportunities with the company that you've picked to grow. And you have to assess that during the interview process, right? Like, I am looking for growth. Yes, I'm taking this role. I know sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. So kind of explain that and show, because loyalty and commitment are big for any organization, right? And even though, like I said, they understand your why, it would be a bigger chance for them to, take a chance on you, knowing that he's not going to be satisfied. He's going to take this role, continue to interview, and as soon as he finds something he likes, he's out of here. So I think you have to ask yourself, the question of, what's most important to you right now. I understand feeding your family, and if you take that lower paying position, ask yourself, can I sustain and can I be here for a little while and, hopefully, grow within this, company. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And from a financial standpoint, yes, I could live off of some.
Yeah, even if you took, and this is not my professional advice at all. This is not, Cabrile said do this, okay? But if I were in that same situation and I had to take a lower paying job, but I still needed money to, make ends meet, then you might have to do something part-time somewhere on the weekend. Like, I may have to take a weekend part-time job or an evening job just to sustain me until, I grow.
Right.
If you can't feel like you can't, wait to get that director level role again.
Yeah, because from a career development standpoint, I feel like I'm taking a 10-year, 15-year backwards step. And I didn't know if I'm going to do it, take a lower level, am I better off doing that from a contract perspective? That way I'm not, taking on a full-time role at a company that, like I said, where it may look poorly if I'm moving around and trying to, move up quickly.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, what do you do?
So I work in IT management. So I'm kind of the sort of HR technology, IT business partner roles.
The HRIS realm in that area. Okay.
So if you give an example in that world, like I've been at a sort of associate director level where I've had a team of business analysts, project managers. Now I'm looking, do I take a role as a business analyst or a project manager to try and get something with a huge pay cut? But in reality, I've been you know, the people I had an interview last week, and in most cases, I could have been that person's manager. Where now I'm just looking to get something, and they're like, oh, well, and they seem to be entertaining with it, but I kind of feel like, am I really going to be happy longer term? And they said, is this 10-year step back?
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you have some personal things you're wrestling with in your head, and you kind of have to sort that out before you take your next step or before you continue interviewing. You have to figure out what it is that you're okay with. Like what can I really do? Yeah.
I have a short little story, but I just want to mention that Lorena was kind enough to put the link into the chat. So if you want to join us on stage, I know we're a little bit over,
Mm.
but you know, if anybody else wants to come up to the stage real quick and ask a question, now would be the time. So I had an attorney who was doing SEC work, and he had a kid in college, and he had a mortgage, and he drove an Uber. So he was able to turn that on and turn that off to meet his family needs, but it brought in some income, even though it was beneath his background and skills and degrees and whatnot. So sometimes you have to do what you got to do, and if you can find, some sort of a job that doesn't require, a long-term commitment. Again, you have to decide, is some money better than no money in this pretty wild, crazy job market? You know,
And I guess a follow
you,
up is kind of, as a recruiter, what looks worse, the year gap in employment, or hey, I had a year gap or year and change, and then I took a lower level contract job or a lower level, individual contributor role.
I think it always looks better that you're working, I mean, and that's where that saying comes from. It's better to have a job and look for a job than not have a job and look for a job. That's where that comes from.
mhm,
So
mhm,
if you feel like the time that you're been unemployed is, starting to look, too severe, then that's what you have to ask yourself. And I think that part of your hesitation is that you are thinking, I'm above this opportunity, but it's not really about you at this point. It sounds like it's more about your family obligations and being able to support your family. So get
Yeah.
that out of your head. Like, just um,
I don't think it's necessarily me. I just want an opportunity that if I waited 3 more months, is something going to pop up that's perfect? So
and
it's not a
that's
matter of being
wrong.
beneath me.
Don't take a position looking over your shoulder for something better. You got to stand in that's what I'm saying to you. Like pick an organization, do your research, and pick a place that you feel like you can grow in. You know what I'm saying? Like that's bad. That's like getting married, but keep looking over your wife's shoulder. Is anybody else? I said yes to this person, but that's the same thing that you're doing right now. You got to stop
uh,
doing that. That's the same thing you're
yeah,
doing right now.
yeah, yeah. I
Thank
hear
you
you.
very much for your
So,
perspective.
I
Appreciate
see in the chat,
Mhm. Mhm.
Nora has. I tried that too, but get disqualified for being overqualified. Okay, Nora, you got a pen out, okay, or you're gonna have to rewatch this. Here's my response to being overqualified. I'm not overqualified. I'm absolutely qualified. I can help train hypos, younger folks. I can help with succession planning, and I can bring so much to the table, saving the company so much money in onboarding costs because I know exactly what to do. I just got to know who the people are. I need to know your internal communication processes. So I'm not overqualified. I'm absolutely qualified. And I get that from absolutely Abby, part of it, the absolutely qualified. But the other tips are kind of mine that I've learned along the way. So don't ever let anybody tell you you're overqualified. Just, bring it on in and tell them otherwise. Because it might be some 22-year-old, HR coordinator who's asking that, right? And you got to enlighten them, and you got to do it in a fun way, right? Okay, even though you may be seasoned, I'm a boomer. I'm proud of it, actually. I have a lot of business acumen because I've got a lot of years of work experience under my belt. but I'm not a technological dinosaur, and I'm fun. Just ask my daughters. Even millennials think I'm fun. So, I guess we don't have anybody else coming up on stage. So, Cabriel, is there anything else that you want to mention that has not been mentioned before we wrap?
No, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with everyone. Hopefully I left you with some nuggets or some gems. Please, feel free to reach out to me if you want to have some additional conversations. Like I said, I can always be reached on LinkedIn. I did just start my Substack page for the finance desk.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, for some of you who don't know, I run a weekly market intel brief for, finance professionals, speaking to topics that hopefully interest them and help them in their search for work. So definitely check that out. You can go to that link from my LinkedIn page. And like I said, if there's anybody here in the chat who is looking for an accountant or know someone who's looking for an accountant work or FP&A work, definitely reach out. Okay. And David, I wish you much, much success in, your future search. And again, if you pick a wife, stick with her. All right. Don't look over her shoulder and be like, is anybody else? Don't do that. Okay.
It's a good analogy. Very good
Mhm.
analogy.
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
It's been a
thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you all for joining us. And again, next month, her name escapes me, but I will make the event soon because I do have a recruiter. And especially for veterans, if you have that active secret clearance or cybersecurity, IT stuff, that's our speaker next month. So great. Have a great day, everyone. And good luck breathing if you're in Pennsylvania. I hope this clears up soon because just that little bit I was driving in my car, it was brutal today. So thanks, Canada.